In this clip, we're going to look at how you might be able to use Mastery Tracker to enter responses in for your students. So let's assume you took an administrative test and you may have done it paper pencil, or you may have done it in a small group setting, and you would like to be able to put the scores into Mastery Tracker. Now you have a couple options. Specifically, we're looking at the tests that were intended to be student-facing, or those that the students may optionally take digitally. So I'm going to come into my Mastery Tracker from my course inside of Canvas. Now I'm inside my tracker, and there's a couple options to find the assessment. Let's just go ahead and say we're going to be able to scroll down, slide across, and find the test we want. Now, if you weren't already aware, we have definitely assessments that were intended to be rubric-based, so these are where they're going to automatically say launch. But we're talking specifically in this video about those assessments that were digitally available. So let me go ahead and find that. So right here we have the math test. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this. This is the English version I'm looking at. And here I'm taken to where I can see each of the columns that correspond to the different standards. And on my left-hand side, I can see all of my student names. And again, each standard has its own separate column. Now, of course, you could look at the assessment and you could enter, which items were this standard? And based on that, enter the score that the student deserved. And you would do that so on and so on for each of these various columns based on the item and which standards correlate or match this particular standard. But there's another way. If you hover over any one of these, it doesn't matter which one, you'll see where it says Launch Performance Grader, a little orange box with a check mark. I'm going to go ahead and click on that now. Now when you enter into Performance Grader, you're redirected to a screen that looks like this. Now on the left-hand side, you see each of your students' names. Let's go ahead and say we're the first student for this example. And you're seeing this message here. It says the student has not yet completed the assessment. If you make changes and save, the student will not be able to take the assessment later, which is true because, again, we're under the assumption that my students have already taken it on paper, pencil, or outside of MasteryConnect. All we want to do at this point is be able to record their scores inside of MasteryConnect. I'm going to ignore that message. And here I see this is question 1. And if I had my responses from my students on a separate document, I could simply enter here. Now I know what the correct answer is. Let's say my student selected 4. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next question. On the right-hand side, I see that. I'm going to go ahead and click to the number 2. I'm on number 2 now, and I'm going to click what did my student enter for this? Okay, go to number 3. What did my student enter for this? And so on and so on and so on. This is another way by which you can go into your MasteryConnect tracker, enter in as the student, and be able to enter the scores as if you were acting as them. This, in my opinion, would probably be more effective. Let me go ahead and go back and remove those items, discard those. This would probably be more effective to be able to launch the performance grader rather than entering each individual response by column. Obviously, you are given the option. Either one of these methods would work, but I think that this would help a lot of times. Again, this is for assessments that are intended to be taken digitally. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my Mastery Tracker. And I do want to point out again, if this is one of these types of assessments, these are the rubric-based tests. They are not intended for students to take digitally. You could always launch the performance grader there. And similarly, you would see whatever it is you're entering and bubble correspondingly. But we're talking specifically in this example for those that are not with the performance grader, rather those that are grayed out, like the math test in this example. Click on the test itself. When I click on it, it redirects me here. And either your 2 options, enter each column, which standards or which questions correlated to each standard, or as my recommendation, and what I think would be probably a bit more, is launch the performance grader and enter as if you are the students. Be mindful of this message though. If you make changes, they won't be able to take the assessment digitally. That's it. Hopefully this was helpful. Have a great day and let us know if you have questions. We're here to help.